All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we are about to begin. So I'm going to introduce you to our presenter this afternoon, Shinelly. And we are very happy that Shinelly has agreed to join us. She's an accomplished educational leader, and she's the head of sixth form at Bishop Anstey and Trinity College East. With over 15 years of experience, she has championed academic excellence and inclusive education, playing a pivotal role during the pandemic by leading online teacher training and ensuring learning continuity. Shinelly holds a master's in educational leadership with distinction from UE and is a passionate advocate for equity in education. She has represented the Caribbean on global stages, including the IFIP G20 Inclusion Summit in Brazil and the Global Inclusive Schools Forum in Paris, while also contributing to international conferences in Uganda. Locally, she supports the Ministry of Education by leading professional learning communities for new teachers and mentoring early career educators. Under her leadership, BATCE's sixth form achieved its highest ever results, supported by her commitment to inclusive teaching practices. Beyond her professional achievements, Shinelly actively contributes to her community and manages a global professional development network. She continues to inspire through her work in leadership, innovation, and inclusion in education. And that was just a little bit, that was a summarized version. So we are very, very happy to have Shinelly with us, and I will turn over to you now, Shinelly.
Thank you so much, Leanne. Thank you for the opportunity. Always happy to share. I didn't really think of me as so accomplished, but hearing it is encouraging. But I want to welcome everyone. This is a topic that is really, I would say, trending now, inclusion, and it's a very important topic as we try to really address some of the challenges we face in the education system, particularly helping students who really may come from a disadvantaged background. So I'm going to jump into the presentation. There are aspects where I would hope to get as much of your participation as possible. And I want to hear from you. You can put things in the chat as well, questions, which we will address as we proceed through the presentation. So again, thank you so much for showing your interest, and I trust that this presentation you'll take away something new that you can use in your personal teaching practice. Okay. All right, so I just want to ensure everyone that you are seeing my screen. You could just give me a thumbs up, and then I will proceed. Okay, great. All right, so our objectives this afternoon, right? We're going on a journey, right? I love that this represents a road, and the road is winding. And I chose this as well because the journey through inclusion is not a straight path. There would be challenges along the way. There will be bumps and turns, but we hope to get to the end destination, which is to help all of our students achieve their best or their full potential. So you want to understand what is inclusion. We want to define what an inclusive classroom looks like. We want to identify challenges that teachers would face in creating an inclusive classroom. And of course, we want to also identify solutions to these challenges. And because the topic of inclusion is broad and there are several strategies, we'll only be able in this hour to focus on one of the strategies. So because of the title of the presentation, we will be looking at actual classroom strategies that you can use. But of course, I'm here if it is you feel that you want me to explore some of the other strategies, perhaps in another webinar. You can also see that in the chat, and I'm willing to expand and share more information. And of course, we'll have a recap. So this is where you play your part. I just want to get a sense of, what you know about inclusion or what you believe inclusion is. and we want to do it in a way that everyone can share and you can see the different ideas coming forward. So there's a barcode that you can use, or you can go to mentimeter.com and you enter this code. And when you do that, you will see the Mentimeter page where you can actually share your view on what you believe inclusion is. So I'm going to stay on this page for about a minute, just to give you opportunity. You can use your phone. If you want to just scan the barcode, and it'll take you directly to the Mentimeter, or you can type it in on your phone or another device. And feel free. I really would want to hear from you. What, in your own understanding, what do you think inclusive education is? Okay. So welcome to those who just joined. You are here at the right time. We're now jumping into the meat of the topic. So what do you think is an inclusive, or what do we consider to be inclusive education? And we want to share together. So I'm going to, at this time now, I'm going to go to the actual Mentimeter to see the responses so that we'll see what everyone is sharing, right? So great. All right, so I'm seeing all the ideas coming forward, and we seem to generally be on the same page. It means catering to everyone, no one left out. Accommodations, that's a very important word. Based on the tenets of OFUDL, all learning styles, every learner style present, catering to everyone, again, equity and equality, diversity. All right, so I'm giving the others, those who came in a little later, opportunity. So if you are not in the barcode at this time and you came in late, you can also just search mentimeter.com and you enter this code, and it will take you to this word cloud where you can put your contribution. So I'm going to give a minute again just to get some more contributions. I want to know what you understand about inclusive education. And then I will expand on your thoughts. Every learner included. And as I saw, as I think about that contribution, I want you to ponder, because when we say every learner included, do you think that's a realistic goal? And you could answer that one in the chat, because that is what inclusive education is about, ensuring that every learner is included, catering to everyone, equal access. So you're all very much on track. I'm going to give one more minute just so I don't miss anybody. I don't want to miss any ideas. But I must congratulate you. You all generally are on the right track. You all generally have a sense of what we mean by inclusive education. Every learner included. That's really summarize it. Learning for all, equal access, accommodating every student, right? Supporting all diversity. Great. So we're going to expand on what you already know. And I'm going to just switch back to the presentation at this time. Great, you all definitely are on the right track. So I'm just going to share some more information just to kind of concretize what we mean by inclusive education. So there are key principles that we associate with inclusive education. They are value and diversity. And when we talk about value and diversity, right, it's recognizing and celebrating diversity of students, including their differences in learning styles, There are differences in abilities, there are differences in cultural backgrounds and languages, and it views diversity as a strength and an opportunity for enrichment rather than a barrier to learning, right? So you're viewing diversity as a strength as opposed to a barrier to learning. Then, of course, we have equal opportunities. Inclusive education aims to provide equal opportunities for all students to access not just education, quality education, and to achieve their full potential. This means you have to acknowledge that there are barriers present, and then you have to acknowledge that there's a role for educators in removing those barriers to learning so that we'll have full participation, right? Providing individualized support and accommodations where required. Right, so I said that full participation. What does full participation mean? All students in participating in all aspects of school life. So not just the academic aspects, but how do we include all learners in extracurricular activities? How do we include all learners in social interaction? So inclusive education is not just about participation in achieving academic success. It's also helping learners to engage in social interactions, in extracurricular activities as well, so they're getting a full experience. And then, of course, we mentioned individualized support. If we reflect on our own classroom, for those of us who are in the classroom, you would know that there are times when you have to give individual support in order to help that child grasp the particular concept that you're trying to teach, right? So that support may require that you have to modify the curriculum. That support may require that you might need to get assistive technology, and we'll talk a little bit about that, depending on what is the learning need of the child, right? It might also require specialized instruction. And that's why I was happy to see we had someone from special education as well, right? Because remember, it's not that we are looking at a child with special needs as additional work. It is their right to get quality education. So it is our responsibility to provide the individualized support. And of course, to sustain inclusive education, because to sustain it, so it's not a one-off thing, you must engage in collaboration. You need to create systems of support, something that we are working on in terms of introducing teachers to professional learning communities. The ministry is actually working on that through their new teacher orientation. So we have professional learning communities so that you can share, hey, I tried this. It worked, I got this result. Or I tried this and it didn't work. Do you have any ideas? What else can I try? This is what happened. So we want to create opportunities for professionals, not just teachers. Sometimes the best teachers to help us with our students are the parents. So we want to create opportunities, collaborate with other educational professionals, with parents, with other persons who can support what we are trying to achieve, right? So I don't think I need to say why inclusion matters. If we value diversity and we see diversity as a strength, and if we understand that when we ensure that all learners are successful, we are also ensuring the future of our nation. And I know there are many different nations represented, right? But supporting all learners to be successful and to be able to find a place where they can positively contribute to society is worth coming to this session tonight. When we look at the challenges we are facing in society, we can also link it back to where these students may have fallen out of our education system, where they weren't able to achieve, how it impacted on their self-esteem, what skills they left with, how they are able or not able to integrate into society. So inclusive education is critical to societal development. It's critical to addressing some of the social issues that are prevalent today, right? And of course, it is in line with our UNESCO development goals. And you can also look at that in your own time as well, how they speak to inclusion in terms of that aspect. Okay. So we want to now move on to building an inclusive classroom. We want our classrooms to generally have these main aspects. So when we talk about an inclusive classroom, we are looking for these dimensions. We want to know that our students feel a sense of belonging. So students feel safe. There's no bullying. Students feel safe to ask a question. Students feel safe to fail, to get something wrong. Students feel safe to come to share what their challenges are. So an inclusive classroom, there's a strong sense of belonging and a sense of feeling safe in the community. An inclusive classroom has high expectations. So regardless, for example, in our system at SEA, we have students who are placed at schools predominantly based on their academic performance. So regardless of which school you're working at, in terms of which group of students you get in terms of where they perform, there is always communicated that we have high expectations for these students. Regardless of at what level we get them at, we express to them, and it is understood that we have high expectations for their success. It's very important in an inclusive classroom that students know and feel genuinely that you think they can succeed. And students are very intuitive. So they know when we are genuine and they know when we're not genuine. And of course, an inclusive classroom is heterogeneous, which means that we are adapting learning based on the needs. So we're not teaching to the average student. We are catering for students who are high flyers, students who are excelling, so we're trying to keep them engaged. We're catering to those students who generally are performing, keeping up, and we're catering to those students who may have other challenges. They may have reading challenges, they may have challenges with math, they may have a learning disability. So it's a heterogeneous learning environment. And of course, inclusive classroom is where students have a voice. And this is something within our Caribbean culture that we have to really work at, looking at our background coming out of being colonized. We have to now create a classroom environment where students are not afraid to say, I didn't understand, or they're not afraid to say, Miss, I'm not understanding with this strategy. Is it okay if you show me in this way? And the teacher responds in a way of, yes, I want to meet your need. I'm going to try a different way. So it's a safe space where students' voice is welcomed and is valued, and where students feel they can come and share their challenges and also share what they want to experience in terms of their learning. Students should have a say about how they want to learn, because learning is not something we are doing to the students. It is a process of engagement between teacher, educator, and student. So students must have a voice in their learning. They must be able to say what is working for them, what is not working for them. Differentiated instruction. So it's tailoring your teaching methods for individual students. So these are the key elements when you're talking about building an inclusive classroom. This is what you want to check. If you have to do a checklist, these are the things you'd like to check off. Yes, Leanne?
So as you're talking, I just wanted to read a couple of comments.
Sure.
Rita says she thinks that it is achievable, but has its challenges too. And Yadira says, I think it can happen in the classroom, but it depends on a lot of resources, teacher training, and lots of community support.
Thank you so much, Leanne, because they are right on track for the other slide. It's really great that we can talk about what we are looking for in an inclusive classroom. But when we are talking about what we are looking for, we have to acknowledge where we're at. We have to acknowledge the challenges we face. And when we acknowledge the challenges, then we could work towards creating that inclusive space by overcoming the challenges. So those comments are totally appreciated. And it's almost as though you saw my slide before. So thank you. Keep your comments going. And thank you, Leanne. Feel free to read the comments in chat because I would not be able to see them. So, and as I said, as they shared, I want you to tell me in the chat, what are the challenges you're presently facing in your context in terms of creating that inclusive classroom based on the tenets we just shared? So these are some of the common challenges that teachers face. Mixed support. So there might be inconsistent support from leadership, inconsistent direction on how to support students, all students in your classroom, inadequate resources. When we are dealing particularly with including students in our classrooms who have special needs. So it means that we have all students in the same learning environment and we are now differentiating. Sometimes it requires that we need assistive technology, and assistive technology in some instances could be quite expensive. So sometimes the resources also don't exist in the classroom, and also the resources don't exist at home. So sometimes it's a challenge, even if we have it in the classroom, to have continuity with the parent at home, because the parent may not have access to the assistive technology to help the child at home as well. So another key challenge in creating an inclusive classroom is inadequate resources and may I say, access to resources for those who really need it. Also, we know this is a major challenge, time pressures, especially in our exam culture. Sometimes you want as a teacher to spend the extra time with the student in the context of the entire class, but you feel pressured by time to move the rest of the students forward. And therefore it's a battle between spending time to help these individualize your work to assist students who need that extra assistance and meeting deadlines, approaching exams. So there's that time pressure that exists, which is which really undermines the efforts of teachers in terms of creating that inclusive classroom. And then there's limited training. So it's not necessarily a lack of will. I believe that once teachers have the knowledge, once they feel confident, then they could actually implement the strategies. So training is critical in terms of empowering our teachers to create an inclusive classroom. Aside from students who may have special needs, within our classroom, we have a diverse range of students who you might say, okay, they are atypical learners, right? Sorry about that. And even within that context, teachers still need support in terms of how to differentiate the lesson. What does it mean to differentiate an assessment? What is the particular strategy I should use with this student? So teachers are also inhibited when they are not trained. in terms of how to create that inclusive space. And of course, if you're not trained, you might lack confidence. You mightn't feel like, this is something I could really do. Might feel overwhelmed, right? So these are generally some of the challenges, common challenges that teachers face. And Leanna, this time, I'm not sure if anyone put anything in chat, but I'd like to hear what are
Lots of
the
comments.
challenges? Yes.
So, too many students, overcrowded classroom, lack of teachers trained to be patient to work with children with these challenges, limited training, high-stake exams are a noose on the neck of learning, insufficient staff and resources, lack of resources, especially updated or modern resources, lack of resources, which makes it difficult to intentionally allow equal opportunities to all students. These technologies could be quite distracting as well. One of the challenges is limited time to cover all the topics, objectives you're expected to cover. Some teachers have not embraced diversity. They claim that they can only teach smart children. Differentiated assessments to cater for different learning styles and time to administer. Insufficient manpower to provide quality instruction and support. The lack of resources are definitely a challenge for me. Teachers who are not open to change even after they are trained. Another challenge is unwillingness for some students. While CSEC provides accommodations such as readers, scribes, and extra time, the exams are not differentiated. Diverse students with big personalities. There may be avenues for training, but training must be sustained and continuous.
Excellent.
The curriculum needs updating for all types of student learning. I think that's it.
So let's be realistic. It's a tall order. Creating an inclusive classroom is a tall order. But I want to encourage all of you who are on the platform today. Despite it being a tall order, it just requires willpower. So let me share, I can just share one or two things before I go on to the next slide. At my school, we had the opportunity, and I'll say it was an opportunity because you actually learn and broaden your understanding, you grow in terms of empathy when you are able to see someone in a different context thrive. So we had the opportunity to engage and accept a student who is legally blind. And this happened during the pandemic. So we took, for the first time, a legally blind student, and we took them in a context where there was not any face-to-face classes. And it was a matter of, again, I'm meeting with my team of teachers. We're saying, hey, we never did this before, but we want to try. You see that will, that is also very critical. I should have had that as one of the tenets for creating an inclusive classroom. It takes will, because it's not a walk in the park. It is a challenge. It requires more of you. It requires more work. Everybody was like, oh, I don't want to do no more work. But I want to tell you that student graduated at the top, in the top 5% percentile. He actually got 7 ones and a 2. That student started a club as one of the clubs at Bishop's Sports and Games Club. That student created a partnership with our school and the School for the Blind, where our students normally will go every Christmas, they will do visits, etc. So that one student and that one chance that we decided to take on ourselves, not only students, it's on ourselves, because we had to admit, one, we did not know what to do. We may have to make adaptations to our teaching that we never did before. We would have to get information, we'd have to get support from special needs. But we decided that we wanted to try because we wanted to make a difference in that child's life. And this is to say that the large classrooms are not going to go away. This is to say the lack of resources will not go away anytime soon, unfortunately. But what we have is a will to do what is right. And sometimes, I think passion is booted in teachers when they have a little more interaction and a little more empathy, because now they have a better understanding of the experience of someone else. I think having an opportunity to be exposed and in our training sessions, and this is just a strategy that could be used. We need to actually bring in persons and these groups. So bring in School for the Blind, bring in the Autistic Society. We need to bring in parents of students who have disabilities. We need to connect on a level of empathy when we want to address those persons who, yesterday you did a training and there was no change. When we're able to connect on that personal level, I am sure that there would be change. There will be change in mindset. There will be understanding of the fact that these children deserve a right to a certain quality of life. It's not because it's not in our house or at our door that we just turn a blind eye. So there's just a strategy I'm recommending in our training sessions, that we actually have persons who are living this, a part of the session, to build that or to bridge that gap of empathy and understanding, so that there's now a passion and desire and a will to want to go above in the context of the challenges we face, right? So thanks so much for your contributions. And that takes me to the strategy. So I shared one strategy there that is not on the page, but that's actually a strategy that I think will bring a change in mindset. So other strategies to overcome the challenges that you all spoke about is vision setting. You can't introduce inclusion and not have everyone understand where you're moving or what direction you want to take your learners as a school, as a community. So it's very important as a community, as a school, that you first establish what inclusion means, what you want to achieve, and it must be something that it is commonly understood. So when we talk about inclusion at our school, we know this is what it means, and this is what we are doing, and this is what we expect to be the outcome. We also have to know that there must be capacity building. So it's not a one-off training session. This is continuous training. So one of the training I would want to share is something called the Global Inclusive Teaching Initiative, which is a training session that my staff did. It's a one-year course. However, it is designed in a format where you have to actually try the strategies. So how the course is designed is that you will go through different modules, and in each module there will be activities that you have to go and implement in your class, and then you have to talk about the challenges that you face in implementing, how you can overcome these challenges, etc. So it's not something that you could just go through. It actually involves change and adoption of your practice. So if anyone is interested in finding out more about that course, you could also share in the chat, and I know Leanne, and of course your contact, and we can get more information to you. So there must be continuous training. You never know enough. Right? We are human beings that we can always learn and grow more. Collaboration, because you need support. Right? You need support with these large classes. You need support in terms of a community of how can I help? How can you support what I'm doing? How can you assist me so that the journey is not a lonely journey, right? So it must be collaboration, support for your teachers, support for parents, right? I had the opportunity at one of the conferences I attended in Uganda, where I was also a speaker, where we had parents of students who are special needs, and they're sharing their experience. And the only thing that the audience probably didn't do was cry. When you hear the reality of the challenges they are facing and they're only trying to get what everyone else wants, a quality education. So they share about the bullying, they share about teachers not really trying, they share about their children coming home and affected more by the environment of being in school and if they are out of school. So we need to build communities of support, not just for teachers, but also for parents as well. Can't speak enough about resource allocation. I don't think you'll need me to explain that. And there must also be accountability. So we must give account for what we are doing. We're not operating in a vacuum. And accountability also should be data driven. So we want to use data to see how our strategies are impacting. Are we seeing growth? And data doesn't need to mean grades. It could be qualitative data. It could be feedback from students. So it's not necessarily that we're looking to see academic improvement. We might be looking to see improvement in the culture of the school, the climate of the school. So it might be a reduction in bullying, right? When we talk about creating that inclusive classroom. So I spoke about vision setting. I spoke about capacity building, and key in capacity building is defining rules and responsibilities. So for example, part of a strategy that you use in your classroom, which I will get to, is something called restorative justice, right? It's a different approach to dealing with indiscipline, but that promotes relationship building. And that could be something that is championed by your deans, for example, in your school, right? For secondary school, I know they have deans, they may not have deans in primary school, but the point is you want to have persons with specific roles in terms of champion and inclusion. This year, my students decided, because inclusion is something that we speak about, it's a word that's regularly used, the students know it. They came to us as a staff and said that they wanted to champion a different arm of the prefect body where there will be inclusivity prefects. The students themselves decided that they want to champion it. They want to ensure students feel part of the school culture. They want to ensure new students don't feel isolated, that they make friends, that they join clubs, that they are part of the community. So defining rules and responsibilities is critical in terms of sustaining an inclusive culture and classroom, right? So we talk about training, we just spoke about monitoring and evaluating. Right, so the key thing that I think persons also want to take away from this session would be actual strategies to use in a classroom. Now, mind you, let me just go back. As I would have shared before, there are several strategies. However, within the time frame, I'm not going to be able to go through all the strategies, but what I'm going to focus on particularly is capacity building by sharing actual strategies that you can use in your classroom. So as we go forward, we're going to be looking at strategies. So in our inclusive classroom, we promote respect and empathy. So there are actual classroom discussions and there are teaching points and opportunities we look for to continue to teach our students about respect and empathy. And of course, the benefits, it will reduce prejudice and discrimination. It promotes a more inclusive and welcoming classroom environment. It develops students' social and emotional skills. So on this note, I'm also going to share a strategy that we use at Bishop and Trinity Colleges. We have included a segment in our homeroom period. So the homeroom period is when the form teachers will have, in our case, it's 20 minutes to do team building activities, work with the students, discuss any challenges they're facing. But in that homeroom period, we have created a social and emotional learning segment. So we have cell prefects. So we have prefects who have been trained by one of our deans who is championing social and emotional learning. And at each meeting, they discuss using sharing circles, different aspects of social emotional learning. So there's constant discussion every morning when they have form class assembly every day about social emotional learning, about empathy, about respect, about self-control, managing my own emotions, understanding what I'm feeling. So it's an intentional program. You cannot leave out teaching these soft skills to students and think, well, they might come with it from home. No, that's not the case. In all situations, that's not the case. So we have a responsibility to help develop the soft skills within our students, which supports creating that inclusive classroom. And some implementation tips: incorporate diverse perspectives and voices in your curriculum. Facilitate discussions about social justice issues. You cannot have equity without justice. That's very important. So part of creating an inclusive classroom also speaks to discipline, how we deal with discipline, okay? Facilitate discussions of social justice, teach students about different cultures and backgrounds, right? Give them a view of the world, a worldview. So there are other ways of thinking, there are other cultures, there are other ways of doing things. Encourage students to listen and to understand each other's perspectives. So that's one strategy. I touched on restorative justice. The key thing about restorative justice is that you're focusing on helping the perpetrator as well as the person who was hurt to understand the harm that was caused, to create a system of accountability. You have to take responsibility for your actions, but also to repair and mend the relationship, right? It involves all the stakeholders, because when there's an unsafe environment, it doesn't just affect the students, it affects staff, it affects parents, especially if the parent is at the either end, the parent of the perpetrator, the parent of the child who has received the injury, right? And of course, key in restorative justice is that it is participatory. It's not something that you're going to force or coerce. But if you start in small ways, you can build and create that culture where it is now commonplace and accepted. This is an entire topic on its own that I would not be able to go in depth in, but again, this is also something I could touch on in another session. Teaching strategies. So notice, as I was very intentional to speak about respect and empathy and restorative justice before I went to classroom participation. If your classroom doesn't have the previous elements, it's very difficult to get quality teaching happening, right? So it's very important. So I want you to see how important these other aspects are. Strategies can't work in an environment of chaos, right? So you must focus on the other strategies of building that safe environment so that we can actually use the teaching strategies. So classroom participation, traditional hand raising does exclude. It excludes certain students, right? So what you want to do is perhaps look at ways that you can call on all students, and you can call on them in such a way that they would feel safe. So you can use digital random name generator, right? If you enter your technology, or you just get some lolly sticks and you write the student names on the lolly sticks. You have it in a cup and you just choose a stick, call on a student, you take out that stick and you rest it down and you move along like that. So ensuring that all students have an equal opportunity to be called upon. Another strategy that's very, very helpful, I've seen teachers use the strategy at our school. It also helps get students who don't normally contribute, who might be afraid to give an answer, by starting to think about the topic through think, peer, share, right? So you can see how it works. They pose a question, they turn and talk and share what they think with their peer before now you now take over in terms of further instructions with them sharing or with the class, right? So it's an opportunity for all students to engage in the learning. So this is a very good strategy. Wait time. As simple, now these are simple strategies that sometimes we overlook, but they are important in creating that inclusive classroom. Wait time. So when you ask a question, you have to actually give the students opportunity to think and process and to interpret how the question and then to give a response. And the key thing about wait time is that you have two types of wait time. You have the time between asking the question and the answer, and then you have the time after the student answers the question. You also have to give some time there, some wait time there that would probably allow the student to refine how they're thinking. They might want to add on, they might want to change, right? So wait time is a very important tool in terms of creating that inclusive classroom. Sharing samples of work. I was sharing with Leanne before that this is actually, these strategies I'm sharing are actual strategies that my teachers use, and they would have given feedback on strategies that they use and the impact it had on their students. And I wanted to get a video of one of my teachers actually talking about how this changed the dynamic of her French class. However, I asked a bit short notice, so maybe for another presentation, I'll get some live videos of teachers actually sharing the different strategies they use and how it impacted the class, the learning in their classroom. So for her context, she teaches French, and I teach at a 6th form level. And as simple as it is, she found when she learned about this strategy and she modeled what the students are expected to do, that she saw an improvement in the quality of students' assessments, assignments, projects, etc. So it's basically you giving the students a roadmap. So you're providing clear understanding of the expectations. It reduces anxiety and uncertainty about the task. It offers a model for students to emulate, right? And how we can implement, you could use a variety of examples to showcase different approaches and styles. Clearly articulate the criteria that make the examples successful. This is very important. So it's not just about handing them a sample and say, look, use this, but it's also explain to them why this is a good piece of work. What aspects of it make it a good piece of work? So that is part of sharing samples of work. It's also explaining why the work is good in terms of the rubric. And of course, encourage students to analyze the examples and identify key elements on their own. So you also want to give them the opportunity after you explain, you want to give them another sample. Maybe you want to give them a sample of not so high quality and high quality, and let them explain now to the class or to you why this one is of a better quality than the other. And then they will get it. Then they will know what is the expectation. Then they will know what they're working towards. This is a very powerful strategy, as simple as it is, right? And ensure the examples are accessible to all students. A pause in here. I just want to get a temperature check. Leanne, you can get a temperature check. Is everyone still with me? Any comments so far? Are they using these tools already? Are some of these tools new? You know, I just want to know how we are going.
Still engaged. That's a comment. Still engaged.
Okay, okay.
Using the strategies, yes. Yes,
great. Great, thank you. And since we are in the age of AI, I wanted to share in the absence, because I know some of the challenges that we face is access to assistive technologies. But there are AI tools, and some of them are free. even though the paid versions will give you more, all right? But some of them still can be used and you get the gist of what you need to get from it. So I just wanted to share some short video clips for particular challenges that you might see arising. So let me just go back. I went forward a little bit. So you might see generally, you might have a class, maybe at the primary school level, maybe at the secondary school level, where you have several students who have different reading difficulties. They may have a specific learning disability. It might be dyslexia, it might be dysgraphia. You may not know, but you know that they have challenge with reading. What tools can you share with them? What tools can you use that can help them, right, to take charge of their learning and also to empower them? So imagine how difficult it might be for a student in secondary level to read in front of the class and they're stumbling over words. They don't know how to pronounce certain words, so they might be very embarrassed. And that might show up in disruptive behavior. So it's not that a child wants to be disruptive, but they don't want to be embarrassed. So they might create diversions, right? So what we want to do is to empower that child or empower those students so that they can still learn the skill with some support. All right, so let's look at this video. Excuse me. So I just have to change screens. Just give me 1 second. Okay, please let me know. Thumbs up once you're seeing the video screen. Thumbs up. Yes, great. So let's look at a tool, free tool that students should be able to access once they have Chrome. And that's why I chose this one because I think most persons have Chrome, right? That can help them if they have reading challenges.
Today, I want to share a tool with you that will be helpful for struggling readers or anyone who would like information read to them from the web. The tool is a Read Aloud extension found in the Chrome Web Store. This extension uses text-to-speech technology to convert web page text to audio. Read Aloud is aimed for users who prefer to listen to the content instead of reading, people with dyslexia or other learning disabilities, children learning to read, or simply to provide users with an alternative way to consume web content. To get started, we're going to head on over to the Chrome Web Store. And once you get to the store, we want to find Read Aloud. I'm going to type Read Aloud right here. Once you get Read Aloud, as you can see, the extension is already on my computer. This is why you see the word rated instead of add to Chrome, which you will see on yours. For those of you who are not familiar with an extension, it is a small program that gives your browser added functionality. Once it's downloaded, you should see a little megaphone in the right here. This little megaphone that you see right here. Once it's downloaded in your browser, you should see this little megaphone. When you click the megaphone icon, you should see a play button and a settings gear. If you click on the settings gear, you will have a few customization options. By clicking this setting gear, you see that you can change the voice, the speed, the pitch, and the volume, and the text highlight. I'm going to take that off for now, and I'll come back and show you what it does later. Now that we have that, let's navigate over to Birmingham City Schools Twitter page. I see this information on this particular page, and I want to have it read. So I simply click the megaphone.
See new tweets. Conversation. Birmingham City Schools is committed to providing remote learning for all BCS students.
Stop, pause, and I'm going to stop it. Now, I have another option. I can actually select what I want read. Let me get it all. And right click, and by it being in my browser, you see I have this option now, Read Aloud Selected Text.
The remote learning timeline will begin on Monday, April 6, 2020.
Now, the thing about this, even if I navigate to a different page and if it's reading the entire page, I have to come up here to hit stop. It was actually playing. So I'm gonna hit stop. Now I want you to also see what it looks like when you see highlight. Click that.
Tweet. See new tweets. Conversation. Birmingham City Schools.
So it puts it in another page for you and it highlights it. I hope this Read Aloud Chrome extension will be beneficial to you and your.
All right, so that's one option that you can share, and if you can email, for example, you have a comprehensive comprehension passage that you want your students to attempt, and you know you have students who will have challenges with the passage. There are other tools that you can explore. In the interest of time, I won't be able to go through all, but rewordify.com. This tool is free as well, and when you copy and paste the passage, it actually helps reword the passage with identifying the challenging words and using simpler words for the student to understand, right? And Natural Reader is also a similar AI companion that allows, again, for you to enter the text and it will read it as well for students, right? And the Natural Reader, what I liked about it is that it highlights the sentence by sentence in bold at the bottom that it's reading. So it will also help the learner as they to see the word as well in large text, which would assist, of course, with spelling acquisition and identification of words and things like that, right? So that's just one, and I'm going to share one quickly for math difficulties. And again, I put two other options. You have photo math and you have Wolfram Alpha. Now, Wolfram Alpha is not just math alone, but it has options for graphs. It has options in terms of like science, social sciences, topics, etc. But the whole point is it gives explanations. So, you know, as a student may be attempting a question at home, or you might be doing a question with a student in class, and they can actually use this tool and it will give you a breakdown of step-by-step how to approach the question, right? So let me just quickly share this one for you all. Okay, let me go back on this one. Let's go back on your Read Aloud. Escape and go. Right. Are you seeing this lovely lady here? Yes, thumbs up. I want to make sure that you're seeing a new video. Yes, great. So this one is an app, Microsoft Math Solver. And again, these are available on all computers. That's why I chose these in particular so that students can find it easily, right?
If you're struggling with algebra, calculus, or statistics, I got good news for you. Here's a free app called Microsoft Math Solver. Just snap a picture of your math problem and the app is going to solve it for you. And it's going to show you the step-by-step solution. And it doesn't have to be printed nicely. It can even solve handwritten math problems. No more bad grades in math. The Math Solver app is available for iOS and Android. Just look for Math Solver in your app store of choice and install it. Now let's say I have this linear equation here. I need to solve for x, but I have no idea how to do it. Just launch the app and snap a picture of it. It will process the image, run OCR, and immediately solve it for me. I can click on View Solution Steps, and it's going to guide me with step-by-step explanations to the solution. Let's go back to the solution and let's hide the steps. When you scroll down, you get similar problems that you can practice on. And down here, it's going to recommend even more learning materials like video tutorials, worksheets, and similar problems on the web. Lots of practice for me. The great thing about this app is that it even recognizes handwritten math problems. So here I have an equation that my teacher wrote on a piece of paper. I'll just snap a picture with the app. It uses ink recognition to convert the handwritten problem into a math equation, and it solves it for me right away. Pretty amazing, right? Another option you have is to draw and sketch your problem. So let's select draw from the menu here. And then I'll just sketch my equation and it's going to convert it. You can also use the eraser in case you make a mistake and then select the pen again to correct it. Then click the blue arrow button to solve it. And there it is. And finally, you can also use the math keyboard and type in your equation. The last thing I want to show you is this feature behind the blue notepad in the top left corner. In the notes, it will give you lots of different examples of equations you can solve with the app. And it can even solve problems that are typed out in natural language. A great way to stay motivated to practice is to use the quizzes. You get a daily practice quiz and it will keep a weekly score for you. It's a great app. I wish I had such a thing when I was in school. It would have saved me and my parents a lot of pain. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this.
Okay, and let's go back. Right, so I would want to encourage you as well to check out Photomath and Wolfram Alpha as well. But let's go ahead and see what other tools we have. Now, this is for students with dyslexia. It's called Open Dyslexia, and it's simply a typeface for dyslexia. So when we, in terms of how they view and they see the letters, this text is shown to help them to process the words clearly. And therefore, if you're giving assignments and you want to assist them, or you can also direct them to use this as well to help them be able to process the words better. And I want to show you quickly an AI tool that supports inclusive teaching for students with autism, but specifically for nonverbal autistic students, right? Students who have limited speech or don't communicate verbally at all. So these two apps, these are actually apps as well that you can purchase. There's a lifetime course, and then there's, of course, if you want to pay monthly. But these two apps basically do the same thing, but I think Prologue, this one is only available on iPad, but the Avaz AAC, you can get it both on iPad or on your Androids, right? So let me just show you this quickly. Let me just share this one with you. Just a short video just to show you the power of this tool. And why it's worth for you to explore it if you have students who are non-verbal, but also just, also just to, just to break the barrier of being intimidated by even accepting a student into your school who is non-verbal. When we realize that there are tools out there to help us, to help them, I think it also removes that intimidation that, you know, we can really help the students. So let me just show you this quick video. It's actually on the website itself for this tool. So I just want to play this for you all.
My name is Tommy. Dog. Woof, woof. Woof, woof. My name is Rose. Hand mixer, give. Me. Hand mixer.
My name is Emily. I love it. That was so cool. I love it. That was so cool.
Being nonverbal
Doesn't mean
we can't speak.
we want to show you who we are.
Anywhere and anytime.
Right. So very, very important there. Because they can't verbally communicate does not mean that they can't learn or that they can't communicate or that they can't be incorporated into the learning environment. This is where the assistive technology comes in. And this is where a will to work with students with these challenges is necessary. And as we are now a little over 8, I have my last slide before I ask for your feedback as well. It's a call to action. Reflect. Is your classroom truly inclusive? What can you do this term? One thing to support your students. And just begin with one initiative this month. It's not about trying to do everything. It's just about making one step, 2 steps until we are on the top of the flight of stairs. Right? You can do it. And now, because I love to get feedback and I want to hear from you, I want to know, what is your biggest takeaway on inclusion from the session? What's your biggest takeaway? So I have this Padlet that I created to get your feedback. You can use the QR code. Leanna, I'm wondering if I should copy the link as well and put it in the chat, or is everyone okay with yes?
You should.
All right.
And
All
we
right.
could also take some feedback. You can unmute your microphones as well.
So just give me 1 minute, everyone. Let me just copy this. So I'm gonna just stop sharing for a moment.
Mhm.
All right.
And you can also give, at this time, we would invite persons to unmute your microphone and just share quickly your feedback with Shinelly. And also, please read the chat. Some of you are asking for information about the course. I've put an email that you can contact. I've also been putting the links to the websites that Shinelly has been sharing. So, Onila Ja, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. You can go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Greetings. So I would like to thank you all for this very informative and engaging session. I like the strategies you all offered. I took some notes, but I would, for some reason, maybe I'm tired. I can't seem to. I'm trying to see how I can apply the capacity building part of it to a primary level, because I'm currently a student aide in the second year level, yeah, second year infants too. And I was trying, like, how can I, incorporate this into that, me interacting with the boys, because I'm not a teacher, yes, but so there are times when I may have to make a decision, and I think capacity building will help with that.
So just to make sure I understand your question, you want to know what strategy you can use in terms of building capacity in your role when you interact with the boys, but you're not a teacher. Do I have it?
But still, because I'm a qualified educator, they still have me doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, but all the books. I don't mind it because it's practice for when I actually become a teacher. I'm actually, in the system. So and when I tutor as well, so these different things. I'm looking to see how best I can apply it to the primary level.
By chance, do you have a network so that you probably could engage with someone who has experience and probably share some strategies with you?
I know someone who did capacity building, but I'm not sure if it's the same type as you were talking about. So I don't know if I can. Do you have someone I can reach out to you outside of this?
You can
forum?
You can reach out to me. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Is it the email that send the Zoom information, or another email?
Leanne, you can share my email. It's
Sure.
fine. Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? You can take questions. I'm going to now transition to the actual Padlet, right? So you can see some of the responses.
Shinelly, somebody wanted to see the call for actions one more time.
Oh, okay, sure, no problem.
And they said the link for the Padlet is not working.
Really?
It's working for
Is
me.
it-
I'm not sure.
Is the QR code working though?
The link is working for me. I'm not sure why.
Okay, all right.
But y'all can put, so what y'all can do is put it in the chat and I will share it with Shinelly. If it's not working, just go ahead and put it in the chat and I will share it at the end of the session with Shinelly.
Sure.
All right, and I will also share Shinelly's email with you. So if you want to, so you can reach out to us as well and we'll pass on the information with her as well, or you can email her. I will put her email in the chat, and I've also put CBE as well as Dr. Freddie James. Her email is in the chat as well concerning the course that Shinelly mentioned.
GI, yes.
Right, and I'm also sending Shinelly's email. So y'all have many ways. We all work together as educators because we want to build our education system, especially with a focus in the Caribbean.
Yes. And just again to say this, the strategies I shared that we have implemented, some of them were over the course of years. So this is actually something that we have been building, adding, tweaking, right? I've been here at 6-1 for 10 years. I taught before for 7 years. So 17 years I've been at the school. So it's not all this is to say it's not an overnight switch of switch on everything. No, you try one thing at a time. You don't try to put too many things at the same time as well, because it could be overwhelming to your teachers and not sustainable. So this is where data gathering is important. I've actually devised some inclusion surveys. So even if persons would like assistance with that, so that you can gather from the school context, what are the main areas you need to focus on in terms of inclusion. And then you can now, after identifying that, decide, okay, what strategy I want to work on for this academic year. Might be one strategy, and that's fine, because again, it's a process, right? So is it okay if I go to the Padlet now? Let me see if I can share so that we can see the Padlet.
Shireen is asking if it's like a needs analysis, and I just wanted to say good night to Tandu Kazi from South Africa. She said it's 2:12 a.m. in her work, so we are sending her good night. All right. And people have put the comments as well in the chat.
Great.
So
can I get a question again?
Somebody asked, I think the survey that you were just mentioning, if it's a needs analysis that you're referring to.
I wouldn't really necessarily say it's a needs analysis, but there are 3 tools that I created. One would be for your teachers, one for your students, and one for your parents, where you're getting, you ask them basically particular questions to get a sense of what are the areas that need to be addressed in terms of inclusion. Again, I am willing to share. It's not a challenge with me sharing the information. So once you're interested, you can contact me and I can share that as well. So let's look at our Padlet. I think everyone should be able to see the Padlet now. I have shared it on the screen. What your biggest takeaway? So inclusion looks different for every child. Yes, it does. We must provide the necessary accommodation and modifications for the child we cater to. Excellent contribution. My biggest takeaway from the session were the tools that are now available to provide support to educators and allow for every child to be part of the learning experience. Thank you, Alana. Inclusive education really begins with a will. That's true. You really have to want to include every learner in order to reach them where they are. Thank you for this. Inclusive education is progressive and truly calls for change in mindset and approach. My biggest takeaway is celebrating diversity in abilities, culture, background differences, and providing opportunity for enrichment. Thank you so much for that comment. Inclusion is very important as it reaches all levels of kids regardless of their learning. Thank you so much. Leanne, you could share some of the comments on the chat.
Yes, so great session. It's a commitment to creating a classroom where every student feels they belong and has the support they need to reach their full potential. the biggest takeaway from the session for me is the reminder that we do not have to try and implement all the strategies at the same time. Someone else spoke about the will, right? It was a very refreshing session for me. Sometimes I lose my will, so I'm grateful for this reminder. I've actually used most of the strategies, especially when I coordinated the learning support program. As a teacher in a mainstream high school, I do lose the will at times. So this session has now propelled me to keep trying. And great session. Thank you very much. Inclusion promotes respect and empathy. So Shinelly, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for the practical session. And as usual, you know, we love to hear from our educators. So you can continue after the session populating the Padlet. When I send out the recording, I will also send out the links as well. So we can continue looking at the different strategies as well as continue to communicate with Shinelly. And look out for more sessions. We have a parent series running as well. So you can share with your parents. This Thursday, we have a session on bullying and self-esteem. Thursday at 7. It's particularly for our parents, so please share it with your parent network. And look out for all the rest of sessions for teachers. And of course, you can let us know what sessions you are interested in, and we will try to find the best persons to assist you with that. All right, so everyone have a really good night, and thank you so much for coming.
Bye, it was my pleasure.